Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You read from the title of this video, James Cameron distances himself from Alien Romulus, but also talks Terminator project. Now, this is true. This isn't clickbait. He genuinely does actually distance himself from Alien Romulus, and I don't know why. It's an interesting one. As someone who's really looking forward to Alien Romulus, this concerns me. But it could also be because there's a rivalry between Ridley Scott and James Cameron when it comes to the Alien franchise. You know, Ridley Scott famously didn't like what James Cameron did to the franchise. Didn't like what he did in terms of expanding it outwards. So, Ridley Scott being a key producer on Alien Romulus, maybe James Cameron wants to distance himself from that. But then again, also James Cameron, like I said, does go on to talk about Terminator very happily. It's interesting. So, we'll take a look at this. I don't know what to make of it yet. Hit subscribe if you're new here. And we'll dive right into it. So, Hollywood Reporter has this. Basically sat down, spoke. They sat down and spoke with James Cameron. James Cameron talks Avatar, Alien Romulus, and whales in spicy chat. Alright. Alright. So, I thought we'd take a look at some of this anyway. It says Cameron didn't hold back. This is a bit of backstory, I guess, just so you were aware. The 69-year-old demonstrated his immense passion and depth of knowledge for all things oceanic when discussing his upcoming series Ocean Explorers, which follows a young team of researchers, blah blah blah. Cameron narrates the 6-episode series, which has been dubbed one of the most ambitious ocean adventures ever filmed. Cameron also showed he can be super candid when it comes to certain other subjects related to his filmography. So there you go, that's the kind of scene setting. Anyway. Hi, thanks for doing this. No worries, let's jump in. So I don't care about this, his Ocean Explorers part. I don't care about that. If you do, go read this interview. But we'll scroll down. Because I think this is, interesting. Touching on some other things in your filmic universe, this week we have Alien Romulus opening, a film you have seen. What did you think of it? Alvarez has previously said Cameron has, quote, seen the movie and loved it, and he gave notes. Now, that was a statement we had from Fede Alvarez. He's seen the movie, he loved it. Now, I saw this interview and I thought, this is going to be great content because he's going to be praising it again. And he didn't do that. And I was like, what? What's going on? And then I was a bit concerned. So this is an interesting response. Take a look. He says, and this is distancing, I saw a rough cut 6 months ago, so I'm sure it's changed a lot. And I viewed it once. I gave some notes to director Fede Alvarez. He and I aren't close pals. What a weird thing to say. I mean, I wish him the best with it, but I think it's been overstated that I had some big creative input to that film. I think Ridley Scott did because Ridley was an actual producer on the film. So I'm just putting it in perspective. Okay. Now, didn't say anything about what he thought of the film, which he was asked. Just took the opportunity to distance himself from it, walk back some of the statements being made. That's not a good sign. It's a weird thing to do. Does it concern me? Yes. Because, again, because he then also said the following about bloody Terminator Zero. Another upcoming project that expands on work you've previously done is Netflix's Terminator Zero animated series. I'm curious if you have seen that one by chance. It looks interesting. My relationship to that is very much like the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Other people spinning stories in a world I set in motion is interesting to me. What's their takeaway? What intrigued them about it? What are they going to do with it? It looks like they're going back to the root cause of Judgment Day, the nuclear war, and whether that's an ultimate timeline. I'd be curious to see what they've come up with. I'm working on my own Terminator stuff right now. It's got nothing to do with that. Like with Sarah Connor Chronicles, they occasionally touched on things I had been playing with completely independently. So there's some curiosity there. It's not a burning curiosity, but obviously it'd be nice to see it succeed. I mean, that's completely different to his response to Alien Romulus. Like, completely different. Do you see why I'm a bit like, what? Do you think this is just because of the Ridley Scott rivalry? I think potentially it is, but it did concern me. These are concerning comments. Takes the time to genuinely distance himself from Alien Romulus, whilst also being like, yeah, this is quite interesting. Yeah, I wish them the best with it. Yeah, I want to have a look at this. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, again, he did say, you know, I wish him the best with Alien Romulus, but this is a much, much different tone. Genuinely. Much, much different tone. What do you think? What do you think? And then he says, then he's asked, what's your own Terminator stuff that you're working on? I wasn't aware of that. He said this quite a few times. This is not news, by the way. This is not news at all. He initially said he was waiting for AI to progress to write a story about presumably what real world stuff is happening, I guess. I don't know. Like, that was his previous statement, was I'm just waiting to see what pans out with AI. Like, okay. That's not fiction then, is it? At that point. It's totally classified, he says. I don't want to have to send out a potentially dangerous robotic agent if you were to talk about it, even retroactively. And that's kind of it, really. Said something about, you know, overbearing. Yes, I'm overbearing, damn right. When it's a project where I've contributed to the writing, I might actually have an opinion on it. Mate, if you were overbearing, should have been a bit more overbearing on Terminator Genisys and Terminator Dark Fate, shouldn't you then? Because those films were shit. And then he's also asked, for those people that care, you've also had recently the 4K transfers of Aliens and True Lies that came out. It did get blowback in the fan community, some feeling that the image quality wasn't as high as they wanted it to be. You obviously have a very high standard, so I'm wondering what you thought. When people start reviewing your grain structure, they need to move out of mom's basement and meet somebody, right? I'm serious. I mean, are you effing kidding me? I've got a great team that does the transfers. I do all the colour and density work. I look at every shot, every frame, and then the final transfer is done by a guy who has been with me for years. All the Avatar films are done that way. Everything is done that way. Get a life, people. Seriously. I mean, that's not very nice. Is it? Anyway, there you go. Distances himself from Alien Romulus, but talks to Terminator. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Love to hear your thoughts. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.